Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello my friends, welcome to another ranking recent releases video, okay? So I love doing these. It's just a good way to give you kind of an idea of the books that have been coming out recently, how I've been feeling about them. I rank them from DNF to 6-star read if I had any that go along the way, and just kind of give you kind of my brief thoughts on it. Some of them I'll go into more detail than others. That's just how it goes. Some of them I'll just be like, it was okay, and others I'll want to gush about. That's just how we do it. But this is something that I've been doing for a couple of years now, I guess. And I usually wait till I have between 30 to 40 new releases to talk about, which sometimes happens very quickly and sometimes takes a while to get there. But in this one, we're actually going through, I did realize I had to go back a ways into, I had a few March ones still to do. So we have a couple March through the day I'm filming this, which is June 10th. All right, so as I said, we'll be ranking these, so we're not going in order of release, we're going in order of how I felt about them. And so we'll start with a DNF. I actually just had this DNF, and I'll tell you why I DNF'd it. So the book that I just DNF'd actually just came out, and that was Caught Up by Mafia Romance. Yes, this was a book that, well, I won't say I was highly anticipating it. I know a lot of people have, because Lights Out was just this absolute, like, runaway type of dark romance. And I compare it a bit to like Butcher and Blackbird, not for the content that was in Lights Out, but in how this dark romance just really caught everyone. Like TikTok and just everything just blew it up. And this book has so many readings and ratings and everyone just loved it. And so of course the follow-up is going to have people very excited. Now, again, I just DNF'd this and I did not read very far. Okay. I only read about 40 pages in, which is like 10%. And I just was not vibing with this story. And I don't know. I then looked up a couple reviews just to check, I was like, am I just the only one feeling this? And there were a couple of things that I saw that was going to be in it that I just wasn't interested in. Which is a bummer, because in this one, I believe like the heroine is a sex worker. She does kind of like OnlyFans content and stuff like that. And the hero is a fan. And also I believe that he loved her once, because one of the tropes for this one is it's a second chance romance. So it sounds like it's an ex and he's maybe kind of stalking her on this platform. I mean, these are stalker romances, so you kind of got to be into it. But I don't know, I just wasn't vibing with it. And I mean, I'm just telling you, there was also a lot of political things mentioned in just the first 20 pages, which there's nothing wrong with an author expressing their reviews, but you guys know that can sour me to something if it's going to be a main like plot of the book. And I mean, it's very clear to me that the times in which this book was written, and it's absolutely up to an author if they want to put those things in it. And it wasn't solely that chased me away. I mean, there's plenty of books and authors that have those in it, and I don't have a problem with it. It was being so much of it in the first 40 pages, coupled with I just wasn't vibing with this couple, plus a few of the things I read in the early reviews for it. So I did just drop it, because I was like, you know what, this one's really long. It's the day of release that I tried to start reading it because I had a lot going on, and so I just let it go. So does that mean that it'll end up being bad? No, but I just didn't really have a desire to read it. And I go back to this again. I know that this is the series that blew up Mafia Romance. I 100% get that. I will still read this author. But there are other books from her that I've been waiting on for years. For literal effing years. And I know that who knows when we'll get them, because these are the books that really blew her up, right? Like there was a romantic series she was going to be working on. There was a historical romance series. There's a paranormal series. And all of those just got dropped so she could focus on these. Now, that is what blew her up. Of course, she's going to write the things that make her money. I am not here to judge any of that, but it doesn't mean I have to be 100% like happy with it. I'm not going to drag her for it, but it means that anytime I'm reading one of the books she puts out, I'm kind of comparing it to previous things I've loved by her, hoping for it to be as good. And, you know, there's that. So anyway, there was just one DNF for me. Okay, now I have 2 3-star reads. And again, some of these ones I liked less. I just will kind of blow through them because I'm not here to drag them. We're just rating them. So one of the 3-star reads for me was Tragic Empire by K.L. Mann. I talked pretty in depth about this in the weekly wrap-up where I read it. This was a book I was anticipating quite a bit. This one was a marriage of convenience. It was best friend's brother. But the writing style of this author just leaves a lot to be desired for me, which I really try not to pick apart. But also just the way she writes these mafia characters really, like, I roll my eyes real hard at it. And in the very first book I read, I say this, like, I thought it was really charming because it was like, oh, this is nice. Well, in this one, we weren't telling the same kind of story as the first one. The first one was I found my family, not just found family. Like, I found my family, being adopted into the family and then learning all about the world, which was great. And this one just really felt like, are we ever going to get to, are we ever going to get to the good stuff type of thing? Like, it never got there for me. And the plot was just absolutely wild. So, and not in a good bonkers way. Like, it was hard to follow, kind of wild. Okay, and then the other one I gave 3-star. Now, this is one that I'm actually like lowering my rating on it. I gave it kind of a decent rating because I read an arc. But now that we're a bit past release day, I'll probably be lowering my rating a little bit. And this one, I actually can't remember. I don't think I did. I think the review of it is coming in my next weekly wrap up, possibly. Yeah, but it was Change of Heart by Bailey Hannah, and this was one I was really anticipating. I've really loved Alive and Wells, and I liked Seeing Red. Change of Heart. Oh, we won't go into all of it in this one because when I do the weekly wrap up about it, I'll probably talk more. But this one was a second chance romance. And it was these childhood sweethearts, really. They've been best friends and loved each other since they were very young. And then there's a lot of loss that happens in both their lives. And there's a situation that breaks them up when they're 18. And they're now back in the same place years later when the heroine is forced to come home because of some stuff that happens to one of her parents. And we see them both together, and the hero is like, this is my chance, I'm getting my girl back. And the heroine is very much like, I can't let him win me over, it'll hurt too much when when it doesn't work out again. And we're just like, oh my gosh, what broke them up? What broke them up? I want them to be together. What broke them up? And when I finally found out what broke them up, I lost I don't want to say respect for them because I understand the situation the author was writing, but I lost a bit of love for the story because one character was really made out to be the villain, and I don't think either of them was, but specifically I don't think that character was. And so the reason I say they're made out to be the villain is that we don't know what this big thing was until it gets revealed in the 3rd act. And it was also interesting because the flashbacks to what happened when they were kids is the 3rd act conflict because we're learning both of their stories at the same time. So it was very interesting to have what happened in their past be the 3rd act conflict in the present. I did not care for that. I'm like, why are we doing this? I don't want to see any of that. And the whole time the hero's trying to win the heroine over in the present time, it's made out to be like he really needs to make up for something, right? And again, once I found out what the situation was, I didn't really think he had anything to make up for. I think they both just needed to forgive each other and move on. And to me, it felt like he was the one being shat on the whole way through the book. And I'm like, what did he do? I need to know what he did. And when I found out what he did, I'm like, I understand how this hurt her. I do. But what she did hurt him too. And he was made out to be the one who fucked up. And I just don't think that. I think they both made mistakes as kids. and it just soured it for me. So, all right, 3.5 stars. We just have 3 of those. So we have, and this one I did rate as a 4 on Goodreads, but it's really like a 3.5 for me as well. This was Buckled in Barbed Wire by Harlow Ray. There wasn't anything really wrong with this one, but it was a billionaire rancher who needs to marry because of some rule that his father or grandfather put in place. And so he marries his sister's best friend, who's been like in love with him for a long time. And it's just a story we've read before. Like, really, there's nothing wrong with it. It was fine. It's very much Harlow Ray wants to get into the cowboy era, which is fine. A lot of authors are doing it, but it was just okay for me. There was Reckoning by Jillian Eliza West. This is another one that I had an arc of it. This is a second half of the duet to Ruin. So there was Ruin and Reckoning. And I really did not care for how the setup, like, it's the second half of a duet, but what she throws in the way to be the issue in this book, I did not care for, which was a bummer because I really love this author's writing, and I did even interview her on my Instagram for the release of this book, and she very much had this planned the whole time. She really thought this out, and I really appreciated that about her, that it was planned out. You know, she didn't just do this to throw a wrench in things for people, but I didn't care for it. And I mean, that's the case when a book is like a 3 or 3.5. Like, there's nothing wrong with this book. It's all a matter of taste, okay? You know, there are some books where I'm like, this is poorly written, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of how I felt about Tragic Empire. I think the same story that's in Tragic Empire in another author's hands would have been really good, but it's just written poorly, and I got lost in the sauce, and I didn't care for it as much, right? Reckoning is a good story. It just didn't work for me as well. Okay, then there was Match Penalty by Kenna King. And this was another one where this is 3.5 star. And I think that there was just so much miscommunication, and not the kind that's understandable. It was a miscommunication where you should have just told the chick what was going on. Because this is a second chance romance. Okay, this is a hockey romance. It's between a hockey player and a team. Well, no, and a blah, 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 coach's daughter, and he's really, really into her so much that he wants to get transferred to her father's team so he could be closer to her. Like, the fuck? Okay, that's a bold move. But in the beginning of this book, they've finally hooked up with each other, and then something happens where he has to leave in the middle of the night to go deal with the situation, and then he gets arrested when he goes to deal with the situation, and he's arrested in a car with another woman, which, granted, would definitely lead her to think some things, that she finally slept with him and then he immediately is sleeping with another woman. Like, what the fuck? I understand why she would be upset, but it's one of those that, like, the situation was so easily explainable, and he should have at least told her what happened. But it's like 1.5 years later on, and he's now ready to try to win her back again. And so he's back again, but he's still not telling her why he left. So I'm like, well, why would she give you another chance? You won't tell her what happened. So I don't understand that one. Okay. I don't. It was weird, but yeah. Okay. So now we have the 4-star reads, and of course I have the most of these ones. So let's buckle up and get into it here. So we have The Nanny is Off Limits by QB Tyler. This is a single dad with 3 kids, and it's a nanny romance. It is an interesting setup because he's a divorced dad, but his divorced wife died not too long ago. So he didn't like hate this woman at all. They had gotten divorced, and then she died. So he's a single dad of 3 kids, and his kids are pretty spread out too. Like, he has one that is like 16, and he has like a 13-year-old, and then he has like a little girl, and he hasn't been able to keep a nanny because they've been so bad. And our heroine, she has been an au pair before, and she actually runs into the little girl, and like the uncle is like babysitting, and runs into her at a grocery store, and somehow she ends up with a nanny job. Okay. And then this is she's not a live-in nanny totally, or is she? No, I can't remember. I think she does live there, but she still has the weekends off. I don't remember what it is, but she's a nanny there, and it's a forbidden romance between them. And people lost their minds over this book, but they always do that over QB Tyler. It's an erotic romance. It's full of sex. It's sneaky sex to hide from the kids, and like, it was fun. Like, this was 4 stars. I didn't dislike it. It was a very easy romance between the two of them. Like, once the forbidden is gone, it was pretty easy. And honestly, that's something that QB Tyler does, which is fine. There doesn't have to be a ton of conflict in a story, right? There's Brutal Legacy by Mila Kane. This was also 4 stars. This was a second chance romance, and it was one where I'll just tell you, like, they were broken apart by her father, and they each blamed the other for the breakup. And so it's also a bit of a Romeo and Juliet situation. And she's been living rough. Like, she's been living a rough life. She'd been married to a very abusive man, and now she's divorced from him and trying to survive. And our hero gets sent to collect her and basically, like, keep her safe for reasons. And really, it's kind of a reason for Renato, who is the, like, head of that mafia, to, like, force them to be around each other. And you'll see what happens. They're forced to kind of confront what happened in their past, right? Okay, there is Shadow's Heart by Cressley Cole. I won't go into this one too much because it's like book 23 in the series, but this one is about a sand demon, and also about Cosima, who is like Lothair's niece or whatever. And these two are fated mates, and it's going to work out because it's Cressley Cole. So that was a 4-star for me. The Way We Collide by Tia Louise. This one was I think this one is the accidental pregnancy. Did I just talk about this one the other day? Let me just see. Yes, it was. So this is the one where at a wedding they have a one-night stand, and she finds out she is pregnant, but she doesn't show back up with the baby till the baby's been born. So yes, I talked about this in a secret baby video that I either have coming out or is out. I can't remember when it comes out because I'm pre-filming a few things, so I'm not sure. But this is one that it's a secret baby. She doesn't tell him that she's pregnant. He's a football player. They live in different places. They were at a wedding. They had sex, blah, blah, blah. But she's very ill, like, the whole time she's pregnant. And he'd also been, like, very clear that he doesn't never want to settle down. His career is really important to him. And it isn't that she doesn't think he wouldn't, like the kid at all. She truly is just very sick, and she's not in a hurry to, like, tell him. But at the beginning, like, why this one works for me is because it doesn't drag out. Like, we go from the night they have together to, I think, literally, like, 14, 18 months later, she shows back up. I think it's 14 months because, again, the baby isn't too old when she shows back up. She doesn't wait that long. But she shows back up, and she needs to get her mother's inheritance, and she has to be married to get it. And so she's like, hey, here's this baby. Would you be my fake husband so that I can get the money and support my kid? She has dreams of being a weather woman. That's right. She wants to be a weather woman. And he, of course, is in the NFL. And once he meets his baby, of course, he wants to be involved. So he agrees to the marriage of convenience, but he also wants the chance to win her over. So it's not my favorite secret baby I've ever read, but I also didn't hate it because we didn't drag out her not telling him. Like, we just skipped to the part where she does tell him. And it's true. He was very busy with his job, and he wouldn't have been that excited about the baby anyway. And she doesn't keep the child from him forever just because of that. She mostly does it because she's sick, and then she was getting on her feet, and then she goes and she tells him. So some people might still hate it, which I would totally understand, but, like, it was okay for me. So Taming the Heart is book 3 in the... What is this one? Just tell me what series you are. Crimson Ridge series. And this one is a hero who is actually married, but he's in kind of not I wouldn't say like an abusive marriage, but he's definitely married to this manipulative bitch of a celebrity who won't let him out of the marriage because otherwise she'll take half of his family farm, basically is what it is. And so she forces him to stay married to her for appearance's sake, which is stupid because she's cheating on him and she only uses him for photo ops. So I'm like, why do you want to be married to him? Mostly it's because she wants to control him. That's what it is. She's a controlling hag. And then our heroine gets hired to help, I think, with like PR or like marketing for his family business. And they're super attracted to each other. And she's very bold and forthright with her sexual urges. And he can't help but be drawn into her. And this was okay. This is my least favorite in the series, to be honest, because the heroine was, as I said, very sex forward. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with she knows the situation when she sleeps with him the first time. She knows he's stuck in this marriage. She knows the woman is never around and is really controlling of him. But then whenever she gets even a whiff of the actual situation, like when this woman shows up and starts gaslighting people about their relationship, the heroine immediately is believing it. She's like immediately being like, oh, but you really are with your wife, and oh, you're gonna leave me for her, and like, oh, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, girl, you knew before you ever took your panties off for him, before you ever started masturbating in front of him, that he had this situation going on. And he was nothing but honest with you about it the whole time. And then anytime this manipulative bitch of a wife shows up and is like emotionally manipulating this guy, holding his family farm above his head, all it takes is this woman to whisper a few words in the heroine's ear. And she's like, I don't know if I can trust him. Like, he might just be leading me along. Like, and it's supposed to be because she's had that happen to her life before. But she's also shown to be very, like, in control and this ball-busting girl who's, like, smart and on top of it. And so for her to just so easily fall for the manipulations of this bitch every time she shows up, I lost a lot of respect for the heroine, and I felt so bad. I felt so bad for the hero that everything good in his life was being controlled by this ex, even this new great thing he has going on with the heroine, right? So it was frustrating. And as always, Elliot Rose throws in a time jump at the end. So we skip all of the good work, the emotional work that's done. And then he's free and they can be together. Okay, do I sound snarky? I do. I gave this one 4 stars. I probably should have given it less. It was an arc. But this one was like all sex and then the heroine like kind of threatening to leave him. And it just got old, okay? Like, having hot, kinky sex in a thing is not solely enough to keep me in it, okay? It's not solely enough to keep me connected. Like, I thought the heroine was too wishy-washy, and yet she called the hero wishy-washy because he was stuck in a marriage with this nightmare. Like, it was annoying. Whew, I am snark today. Hello, my name is Jen, and I am snark. I'm so sorry that I am that, but I really want to get to some of the ones I really, really liked, so I'm kind of speeding through a lot of these, and I apologize, but every single one of these books that I'm touching on, I've talked in depth about in my weekly wrap-ups, so I'll link those up here. Again, this is a ranking video, so I'm not like going into all the nuance, so that's why I'm also speeding through, is that this is a rank video, this isn't deep dive. Okay, then there was My Dark Fairy Tale by Gianna Darling. This one I listened to the audio, which was really good. And this was, this is a part of a duet. So it does have a cliffhanger ending. But this has this girl who she goes on a trip to Italy. It's where her family is from. And so she's there to experience all of it. And kind of just have this like soul searching trip until things go awry. Her car breaks down. She almost gets assaulted on the side of the road. She gets rescued by this suave Italian man, and she ends up spending her vacation with him and falling for him, only to find out at the end of this vacation that he is a mafioso and she's fucked, basically, like, because she's in love with him and it's going to change everything. So to be continued to see how it goes. And because this was a release with Montlake by Gianna, we don't get the second part until October, I think. But I enjoyed this quite a bit, and I may even raise my rating for this one once I see where it goes. But it is an incomplete story, so it was definitely solid. Okay, then there was Wicked Savage by Lillian Harris, and This is one of my lesser liked ones by her because this was a second chance romance in a way. It's also like a big age gap. We have a Bratva heroine and we have an Irish hero, and a member of her family had killed his mother. And it was a very awful, brutal way to go, which, I mean, all my empathy and sympathy for him and his family, like, it was awful. But when he finds out who she is, after he's already, like, so into her, he wants to marry her, he finds out who she is, and he's like, we can't be together. Fine, fair. But it leads to, over the next few years, this really toxic relationship where they'll fuck each other and then they can't be together. And they'll fuck each other and they can't be together. And it's just this push and pull that just isn't healthy, which that's fine. This is a dark romance. That's okay. But then it's time to have like an alliance with this family. And it really is a push comes to shove because it's either he steps up and marries her, which he said he can't do. And now she kind of hates him because he's jerked her around for so long. And now you're going to marry me because you have to. Like, you wouldn't marry me because you love me all these years, but you'll marry me because it was a thing. Like, it was a thing, you know? So it was all right, but one of my lesser liked ones by this author. Okay, then we have Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. This book has just it's been all over the place. I listened to the audiobook for this. I had a good time. Again, we're not going into details about these books, but this was a new fantasy world that she shared. This was the first romantasy from Devney Perry. This set up the story of Odessa and a arranged marriage with a prince from a different land, only for things to not be what they seem when she goes back to his land with him. She's supposed to spy on him because, get this, right? It was an arranged marriage between their two kingdoms, but she wasn't the one who was supposed to marry the prince. It was her younger sister who was supposed to do it, but she got picked at the last minute to do it. So she's now supposed to spy, whereas her sister was trained her whole life how to be a spy. She's just kind of thrown into it at the last minute. So I had a good time with this. Some people absolutely loved it and some people hated it. And I'm definitely not on really either of those. I had a great time. I love the narration. I love the story. There was a good setup for the next one. This really was a building block of a book. But I also see why people would be like annoyed with the story and why it didn't work for them. So there's no judgment for me either way. Like, it was solid and I look forward to more. Okay, then though, there was, oops, no, I don't have a copy of that one. There was Leather and Lies by Deborah Grant. This was a new author. This was a dark cowboy BDSM romance. And this was, as I've said before, this one actually does kind of compare with like Sovereign a little bit. Not as emotionally deep to me, but we have this very wealthy rancher who kind of manipulates things so that this heroine owes him a lot of money. And when her father dies, he collects on this and he offers to waive a lot of her debt if she will be his sexually. And he wants to use that to get her to fall in love with him. So pretty solid beginning for this author. One of the positives to me is that it was short. Now I know that sounds like, oh, brevity was great. I like that it was a bit short because when a new author tries to drag out the story too long, they can get lost in the weeds, right? And like, that's how I felt a bit about the KL Man. I think they tried to do too much in their books. Like, keep it simple, have a more concise story you want to tell, bang it out, and then there you go, right? So that's how I felt about Leather and Lies. Okay, a few more 4 stars we still have here. We have Finding Home by Jenn McMahon. This was a heroine who found out her Meyers husband was cheating on her. So she got the divorce, takes her settlement, moves to this small town in Montana to start fresh. And our hero is actually owns the house next to hers. And he's very grumpy. He doesn't care for out-of-towners. So there's a bit of tension between the two of them for that. Until, of course, the tension turns to romance. There is Be With Me by Gabrielle Sands. And this is the beginning of the House of Ferrero. This is a bit of a Romeo and Juliet situation. It is a forbidden romance. She's the daughter of the soon-to-be mayor of New York City, and he is the son of the Ferrero family. And he and her bump into each other at a party, and he becomes obsessed with her and starts kind of like stalking her. And she's actually like also, besides helping with her father's campaign, she is like a, what does she do? Is she like a personal assistant? What does she do? She a designer? I can't remember fully what she does, but he like kind of hires her to do work for him, as well as starts getting in her life. I don't know another way to say it. He forces himself into her life so that he can entrench himself there. And he is doing that partially because he's fascinated by her, but also because he's told by his mother to learn as much as he can about her so they can use it against the dad. So this one was pretty good. I myself, like I said, this was at a 4-star for me because I felt like there was some stuff set up in a previous book that was backtracked upon. That's my opinion. I've since listened to some other people talk about this book and they don't feel that way, but I don't know. I liked the characters. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the books in the series because this author is very strong for me. I love a lot of the books she's put out, and so I definitely want to see where she goes with it. Okay. Okay, then there was Come Back to Me by J.A. Mazurk, a.k.a. Serena Ackroyd. This was book 2 in the 7 Seas series. Say that 5 times fast. And this just was way too long. Like, that's all we'll say about this. Like, we still have so many books to talk about, and I don't want to dig too deep into this one. But this was just ungodly too long. And that is a problem I've had with Serena Ackroyd for many years now. Her books have gotten so bloated and so long. And even with this one, where it was like a fresh cast of characters and I really enjoyed book 1, this book is just so bogged down with the secondary plot, with side characters, not in the way that we don't have their POVs, which was my problem in her Mafia books, is like having the POVs of these people, but it's still like just so bogged down with side story and all the secondary character stories. And I'm like, just tell the story you need to tell. Stop with all this bloated mess. And yeah, again, we're still sassy right now. Okay, I'm still doing it. And that was kind of a drawback for me. Then there was Tell Me All Your Lies by Angel Anders. This one just released. This was pretty good. This is book 4 in the Love in the Carolinas, which was supposed to be kind of a light taboo romance series. This one was a dad's best friend. However, the heroine is 39. The heroine is 36. The hero is 49. So it's not the case of a dad's best friend where you could be the guy's daughter. You know, there's only a 13-year difference. And they're actually both spies. So I won't go more of it into it than that, but I'll have links to all of these books down below. I do recommend you check this one out. It was really unique. It was fun. It wasn't too long. The reason why I'm not saying too much about it is that they're rival spies and they get assigned actually to the same project and they now work together and they need to have a fake marriage so they can infiltrate a part of the mafia to find out about this one baddie called the Marlin. Okay. And it was fun. So I don't want to tell you anything about it. All right. Now, the last 4-star, I'm going to hold off talking about because there's 2 books in this series that came out the same time. So I'm actually going to switch into the 4.5 stars and I will talk about the first book in that series first and then this one. So a 4.5 star that I read was Finn by Melanie Moreland, okay? And this is book 1 in the Irishman duet, which, if you remember, the Men of the Falls, which came out, I think, last year is when those ones came out. Those were Italian mafia set in Canada, and this is Irish mafia set in Canada. And we have Finn, who is now like the head of like a different hotel and casino. And this is actually a second chance romance, okay? Once upon a time, he fell in love with this 18-year-old woman after her father died. They had this whirlwind romance. He wanted to marry her. And then he actually got injured. And that led her to be like, I don't know if I can do this life. Always worrying you're going to get killed. It's how I lost my father. My brother's involved in the world. I don't want to be married to someone involved in the world. And he's like, okay, I'm going to wait for you to be over this. And so now it's been, I think, 6 years. She works for his business in Canada, at this hotel, and he's basically waiting for her. And I thought it was really romantic how he waited for her. And she's a singer at his hotel, and she works different roles there. She wants to own her own hotel someday. And he's just patiently waiting for her to accept that he's the only one for her. And I just thought it was really beautiful. Now, the drama in this one comes from her brother, which I won't go into all the details of it, but her brother, let's just say, gets involved in some bad stuff. And Finn tries his very best to help her brother get out of this trouble. But at some point, he's got to cut and run and just save Una and get them out of this situation. However, that book was 4.5 stars. Book 2 in the series is called Nile, and this one actually isn't out yet. I just read the second half of this, and it comes out, I think, on the 22nd. But of course, it's a newer upcoming release coming out, so I had to read it, or I had to talk about it here. This is part 2 of this duet, and it involves a woman who we meet at the end of Finn. And so that woman gets rescued by Nile, and then Nile is their romance of him kind of nursing her back to health and falling in love. And I like that one a lot. I just didn't like it as much as Finn. Hence, Finn was 4.5 stars. Nile is 4 stars. These are narrated by John Lane and Maxine Mitchell, and they are brilliant. Okay, the other 4.5 stars. Here we go. We have His Juliet by Amelia Rossi. Here's another Romeo and Juliet retelling. That's also Mafia, which is the third one I've talked about in this video. But yes, I finally got in my copy of this, so it was perfect time to film this. I have a signed copy here. This is book 2 in the, what is this series even being called? I'm not even sure I know what the series is called. I don't know, but it's gorgeous, and there is even some art in here, that's the front cover. What is this one? Woo, there's a little spicy picture here. But anyway, this one is, he actually hides in her bookstore when he's being chased, I think, by the police. And she is an agoraphobic who only goes to her home and the shop until one night our hero stumbles in and has to hide out there, and he doesn't let her call the police, but he makes her kind of sit with him, and he doesn't do anything untoward to her, but he doesn't let her call the police, and he talks with her basically all night long, and she is even comfortable enough to kind of fall asleep in his lap by the end of the night. So their names actually are Romeo and Juliet, which she just can't believe his name is actually Romeo, but it definitely is. Here's another beautiful piece of art in here. I love them. And he can't help but continue to come back to them. Oh, there's our kitty cat. So cute. And I just love it. Anyway, there is a reason why it's called Romeo and Juliet, and it isn't just their names, or why this is Romeo and Juliet retelling, and it isn't just their names. There is some stuff to do with the mafia and feuding families that comes into it. But basically, he falls in love with her while she's stuck in this bookstore. He sees her there, all the time, until some bad people start following him to this bookstore. And now he's made her a target, and the only way to save her is to force her to marry him so that she has his protection. But these are the special edition covers that the author had commissioned, and they're just gorgeous. This is his Tesoro, and this is his Juliet. His Empress is coming later this year. So there was also Mr. Charming by Piper Rain. This was the final book in the Men of the Nest series. This was a second chance romance. We'll just move along. That one was fine. There was The Prodigal Son by Sarah Kate. Was a 4.5 star. This is the final book in the Good Brother series. This was an romance. This was Isaac, who had run away from home and become a country music star, actually. And Jensen, who has become the pastor at his father's church. So that's awkward, but there you go. this was beautiful. It was so good to finally wrap up this story. And I think Sarah Kate did such a beautiful job with it. It was really good. There was Born for Lace, which is a post-apocalyptic, little bit of fantasy, sci-fi situation where there are these partially like altered humans, and they're also humans, and women who are within this society are put into different categories. There's Born for Silk and Born for Lace. Born for Lace is, these women are basically forced sex workers, only they're able to take a medicine that puts them to sleep, and then their bodies are used. And so they don't have to feel what happens to them. Yeah, it's crazy. And this story is of one lace girl who, her friend has a baby, and it's a forbidden baby that she has. And she begs her friend, the heroine, to take this baby to safety. And the men who are there to take the baby are expecting the mother of the baby to be there. And instead, it's the heroine. And they take her with, but they very begrudgingly do. And we begin to get to know these two men who rescued her. And yeah, it's a very complicated world. It's too much to talk about just in this. Again, see my weekly wrap up where I talk about it for more. But it was really good. I gave it 4.5 stars. And I think this series that Nikki Harris has done is just like, there's nothing else like it. That's how I'll say it. There's nothing else like this series. Okay, A Good Book by Julianne. Yeah, this one was a 4.5 star for me. Like, I really liked this. I think it's my favorite in the series. This one is about the last daughter, the last preacher's daughter, and she is in love with her sister's ex-boyfriend. Yes, Maddie shows back up, okay? Our heroine in this one, I think Gabby is her name. She's in love with Matt, who is a few years older than her, and he's already at college. And she actually decides which college to go to because it's where Maddie went, okay, right? So Maddie was dating her oldest sister, and her oldest sister married Maddie's older brother, right? That was that forbidden romance from Sunday Morning, the first book in the series. And Gabby has a best friend named Ben, who he's in love with her. And they both go to the same college, which again is the college Maddie's going to. And just when something between the two of them might be sparking, Ben ends up getting sick and he loses his hearing. And this throws both of their worlds into absolute chaos. And the way that they work through it and figure it out was heartbreaking and heart-wrenching to read. But it was also very powerful, and I cried so much reading this book, but I loved it so much too. Like, I truly did. It was really good. Okay, then the last 4.5 star is The Past by Sawyer Bennett. I've talked about this one a lot lately. This is set in the 1970s in Ireland, and it is actually the story about how Fiona and Tommy, who are the parents of the characters in the earlier books in the series, how they fell in love. So it's their romance as young people in Ireland in a whirlwind summer, how they fell in love and started the Blackburn dynasty that we know. And it was really good. Okay, now the 5-star reads. Here we are. Here we go. Let's do this, okay? We're already really far in. So the ones that got 5 stars, which actually it's like I don't have to talk about these too much because these are all ones that I've absolutely gushed about, okay? So continuing, we're at 45 minutes in, so we got to keep it moving. Wicked Love by Willow Astor. This was great. This was a accidental pregnancy between a single dad who's super grumpy football player, and then our heroine, who's kind of this light and free new person in town, actually, and they have a one-night stand at a wedding, and then he wants to kind of like forget about it because he's like, I'm not in a place for a relationship, but oopsie, they're pregnant, so he's gonna have to get over it. There was Whisper and Wildfires by Claire Kingsley. This is book 4 in the Haven Brothers series. This was a second chance romance, small town suspense. This one, there is he isn't a serial killer. He is a like very dangerous stalker who just hasn't been caught yet. And that's going to come back to bite them in the butt. So this is Luke and Melanie, and I've really enjoyed this. The audiobook is really good for this series, but small town suspense, if you like that, Claire Kingsley really is doing a great job with this series. There is Hunger in His Blood by Zoe Draven. This one is an accidental pregnancy. And this one is, this was the third book in The Brides of Calor. And this one is also a rejected mate. Although by the time he rejects his mate, he's already got her pregnant, and then he sends her away, and she discovers that she's pregnant and then isn't able to get in contact with him right away. And the boy's gonna have to grovel. Let's just say that. The boy's gonna have to grovel when he gets this woman back because he done fucked up. Let's just say that. And it was a good grovel. It was very cathartic for me to see him crawl for her. I liked it. There was Deacon by Rhea Morris Edwards. This was book 3 in the Sovereign Mountain series. This involves a girl who's just moved to town from Appalachia. She is, I believe, 19, but she's really been kept controlled and beaten down by her stepfather, who is the family she has left, her stepfather and 2 of her stepbrothers. And she catches the eye of Deacon, who is a blacksmith in the town. And once he catches an eye of her, he's going to do what he has to do to make her his. And also ask her to call him daddy. So do with that what you will. All right, Tell Me It's Wrong by Katie Wismer. This was actually an older woman romance. This was book 2 in her Spire series, but you don't have to read the first one if you don't want to. It's just... the first one is about the stepson of the lady in book 2 and his romance with his best friend's little sister. And through that book, we meet the stepmom, who actually the stepmom is only about like 10 years older than her stepkids. And they like her like more than they like their dad. And she has a child with that dad. So they have a half sibling. And the beginning of Tell Me It's Wrong, she has divorced from that husband. And so it's her and her son trying to make a way for themselves now. And she ends up meeting the bartender at a place where she goes to day drink, basically, because she's handed her son over to the dad for the weekend and she's struggling. And she ends up having a drunk one night stand with this bartender, who she then finds out is her stepson's best friend. So... awkward life, right? Okay, then there was Just Say Yes by Lena Hendricks. This was the last book in the King series, which I've just heard the King series is getting trad-pubbed, I think. So that's kind of cool. But this one is a rugby player and the daughter of the King family. I can't remember enough about that one to go into it, but I do know that she actually works at the assisted living place that his grandpa stays at, and they actually meet there for the first time, and they have a bit of a misunderstanding, and then he goes to make it up to her, and they become friends, and she goes to some rugby games with him, and where he plays, and it was just a cute romance. It really was. I love Lena Hendricks books. Okay, then we have King of Envy, which was 5 stars, and this was book 5 in the Kings of Sin. We're getting close to done, but this one was Varuk and, is it Varuk or Vuk? Vuk. This one was Vuk and Ayana, and this is actually a best friend's fiance romance. It's his best friend, but what Vuk doesn't know is that this marriage between his friend and Ayana, this engagement, is a fake engagement. And so he's starting to fall for Ayana. And Ayana is even like flirting with him a little bit. And he doesn't know that it's a fake engagement. There's quite a few reasons that those two are going to get married. And when he starts to fall for her, he's like, break this marriage. And she's like, I can't. There's reasons why I can't. But then some baddies show up and try to basically like kill people at this wedding. And so he rescues her and takes her with him. And he's like, okay, time for you to explain what's going on. So that was a really bad explanation for this one, but I loved it. This one's a little bit long. Anna Huang, we can all admit that she overwrites a bit lately. Okay, she does. However, I loved the slow burning tension between these two. It was my favorite kind of like almost a cheating romance, because like he thinks that he's cheating on his friend, okay, which yes, isn't very fair of them to make Vuk feel like he's a cheater, but I just really love the chemistry between them. Also, our hero is mostly speechless in this, mostly nonverbal for most of this book. It is a bit like trauma induced. And we get to see how he kind of like deals with that throughout this book. There was When We Break by Kristen Proby. This was another small town romance. We have the, let's see, what does he do? Oh, it's the farmer. We have the farmer and we have the dancer. She's an Irish dancer and she's moved to this small town to get away from a stalker in another town. Though her family is very wealthy and very protective, she just wanted a small town life. So her and her dog move to the small town in this place, and she makes friends there. And one of her new friends' older brother is this farmer, and they fall in love with each other and have a very sweet romance where he tries to show her that not all guys are creeps like her stalker was. So we're here for it. Okay, we have Beautiful Venom by Rena Kent. I have opined on this one over and over again. I loved this. I thought this was fantastic. This was dark. This was sexy as hell. This was twisted. And this involves a secret society called the Vencor. And we have the Vipers are a hockey team. And our heroine tries to infiltrate this world to get revenge. And in doing that, she catches the eye of Kane Davenport, who decides to play with her a little bit and see what she's all about. And that includes getting her to do some very sexy things with him that she may come to regret. We'll have to see. But it's hot, okay? It's hot. I'm just saying it's hot. All right, and then the last 5-star one is Bourbon and Proof by Victoria Wilder. I don't have my physical copy of this one yet, but it is on the way. And this is the third and final book in the Bourbon Boys trilogy. And this one is Ace and Hadley. Now, this one is a long time pining hero and heroine a little bit. She wants him to, but he definitely has been pining as well. And this is actually his brother's best friend. So this is a case of like, she is best friends with his younger brother, Lincoln, which if you've read the previous books, you'll know. Never was anything sexual with Lincoln. Never. She just loves him and is like an aunt to his girls, and she's amazing. She has a really shitty dad who has tried to make her do different things in her life that she didn't want to do. She now owns a bar and speakeasy. It's like a speakeasy situation. And Ace has done whatever he can to protect her, but he's done it behind the scenes. And now we're at the point of the story where things are coming to a head. And his grandpa, I believe it's the grandpa, has thrown a wrench in the plans that if he wants to inherit his part of the business, he has to be married, which is a really stupid thing to throw in there. And we all know as we're reading it that the guy really threw that into his will to force Ace to do something about his feelings for Hadley. Like, we all know it. And Ace doesn't think that marrying Hadley will be good. He thinks it could be really dangerous, but he's always wanted her. And now he has every reason to reach out and take her. And Hadley also agrees to the marriage because not only does she want him, not only will it help him, but it will piss off her father, who's the bane of her existence, who's an absolute fucktard, and we want her father to suffer. And so, of course, Ace says, this will just be a marriage of convenience. It's going to be completely platonic. Well, he's not prepared for what Hadley's willing to do to make him hers, which includes some daddy kink and includes some other fun things. And this was just a joy. Okay, it was a joy. I love this book. It was great. It gave me all the feels. And I'm very excited for the spin-off series, which is coming, which is the Whiskey Girls. So there's the Bourbon Boys, and there's going to be the Whiskey Women. Sorry, not girls. Whiskey Women. So that's coming. Then the final two are my 6-star reads, and I won't go into detail about these because I've talked about them a ton, and they were, favorite books of last month, and I just am obsessed with them, and I'll talk about them more, so we won't do that because we're at about an hour here. But the 2 6-star reads that were recent reads and are at the top of my tier was Hold the Line by Julia Wolf and Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. These are both fantastic. They're fantastic for different reasons, but I adore them, and you need to read them. Just go do it. Go read them. Go get them. They're wonderful. And that's the top of my tier. So, anyway. Woo! Sorry if this felt rushed, but also it's an hour long, so I don't know how it could have been rushed, but there was 40 books to talk about in 60 minutes, and I think I did a pretty darn good job. I'll have links to all of these books down below if you'd like to purchase them. Purchasing them helps out the channel. It also helps out the authors. And yeah, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye.